5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, March the 22nd, 2025, and I'm reporting live from my house. Glad to have each and every one of you on board this morning. I see David Gomez has arrived, as has Juan Garcia, Brady Smith, and hey, look, there's Tom Graber, as always, maybe not always, but often coming in strong with a $5 super chat. Thanks so much, Tom. I appreciate your patronage. Celebrate, celebrate. Tom's also a big-time Dugroz diehard. That's a channel member, and you can tell because he's got a squiggly little symbol to the right of his name. I also see TM Cowling and Mike Newland, and we'll get to a couple more in just a few moments, but we're going to start the way we always do. That's with the Dugroz data points. These are any little pieces of information around the world of points and miles that I'm interested in, and I thought, I'll share it because maybe you'll be interested too. This first data point tells us that the Amex Business Platinum 120,000 point upgrade offer is back again. Hat tip to the folks at Frequent Miler. They gave us this tip and several of the ones you'll see here today. Basically, if you have a business green or a business gold, check your app, check your website. You might get a targeted offer to upgrade by spending $10,000 in the first 3 months and get 120,000 points. That's a cheap and easy way to get a sign-up bonus without actually getting a hard pull, opening a new card, or anything along those lines. Oftentimes, you don't get a hard pull with Amex anyway, but without having to do much of anything in the way of new card opening. I did check in my app. I was not targeted, unfortunately, so it doesn't apply to me, but it does apply in a general sense. So be checking your Amex if you have a business gold or business green. Other people on board include Dimitri G., Tim McDonald, and hey, look, there's big-time diehard John R. As usual, Mr. Consistent with the $2 super chat. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you so much, John. I sincerely appreciate your friendship, patronage, and faithfulness. Stephen Cohen is here. Glad to be here. We're glad to see you, Stephen, as is Ron Byrne. Good morning. Juan Garcia and Dad on a Mission. We got several comments here, and I'll go through and pick out the pertinent ones in just a few moments, but let's get 2 or 3 Dugroz data points deep before I do that. Next Dugroz data point. This is a rumor, as reported on the Doctor of Credit. Hat tip to them. The rumor is that the Citi Rewards Plus card will be discontinued, and it says on Reddit, some guy said the Rewards Plus card will no longer be open to new applicants within the next few days. This is that card that has like a roundup feature to the nearest 10 points, which is basically useless other than purchases under $5, and you're never going to get rich making a whole bunch of $1 candy bar purchases or whatever. Can you even get candy bars for $1 anymore? But it does have a 10% rebate. I actually have this card, and it was the first Citi card I ever got. Up to 100,000 points used. So basically, just by having the card as part of your Citi Thank You Point portfolio, you can get 10,000 extra points every year whenever you redeem them. Microphone check, testing. I made a few audio adjustments. So if somebody could just put over here in the comments whether or not they can hear me okay, I would greatly appreciate that. Next Dugroz data point here, and this is kind of funny and interesting to me. Air France and KLM saver availability stinks from the U.S. except for New Year's, and this is from, again, the good folks at Frequent Miler. The only reason I found this to be funny is because this article is by Tim Steinke, not sure how you pronounce that. It's talking about how there's very few flights from the United States to Europe on Air France and KLM. And it seems to me like, just going from memory, someone did a video about that 3 or 4 weeks ago. Who could it be? Oh, it was me. I made a video called Flying Blue Seats Few. Also, hat tip to Anthony Venture because he inspired that video. So it looks like the folks at Frequent Miler are just straight up copying me. I mean, I think we know where they're getting their content from. Am I right? Okay, mostly kidding. I know in this world we tend to research the same kind of things, but I thought it was funny enough to mention it. All right, now I'll take the time to go back and catch up on comments here. David Gomez asked, "Do you or anyone know if I had a Freedom Flex with the 10x on groceries up to 12K when I'm eligible to cancel it and see if I can get a big welcome bonus again?" I've never had that, David. I can't say for sure. In the back of my head, it's 24 months between Freedom products. So you would have to wait 24 months since you got the last bonus, regardless of what kind of bonus it was. And I'm assuming on that deal, it's maybe measuring from the end of the first year. So you should be good after 36 months, but that's just a best guess. Excuse me, folks. I apologize for that. Let's see. Brady Smith said, "I believe it's 24 months from getting the bonus, but since your bonus lasted a year, it would be 36 months after getting the card." So Brady's best guess was the same as mine. Juan says, "Reports on City limiting the rewards plus." Zoo, did we have a brainwave, Juan? Did we just become best friends? Yep. Okay. Let's see. Other people saying good morning, glad to be here, that kind of stuff. Juan says, "I just got approved for a 90K sub on the Delta Business Gold." Ooh, yeah, touchdown. That's pretty awesome. Dad on a Mission says, "Good morning from the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale. This hotel just finished a $150 million renovation. It's nice too. That's good to know." Yuri SBU says, "Good morning, Doug. Will Amex do a hard pull on a first business card with them as an issuer?" I have heard mixed data points on that, Yuri. In my case, Amex did a hard pull on my first ever personal card and my first ever business card. But after that, they did not. Can't guarantee it. That's how it worked out for me. I've heard some people say that when they had a personal card and later added a business card, it didn't do any hard pull at all. So it varies a little bit from person to person. Every once in a while, I'll hear somebody say they get hard pulls on subsequent Amex cards being opened. Before I go any further, I will take the time to mention that if you are not a subscriber to this channel, please click the subscribe button. I think you'll like it. And in addition to that, please click the thumbs up button. When you click thumbs up, the video is recommended more by the YouTube algorithm. More people will come in here and watch it. The theme of the day today, which we'll get to after our data points, is 10 tips and tricks for taking what I call RIP trips. This is basically just trips with points, and I'll explain what a RIP trip is a little later. But if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around for the theme of the day. Uncle Luke is here and says, "Good morning. Trying out Tap Air Business Class tonight." Ooh, that sounds interesting. Let us know how it goes. And then Rodrigo Mendez says, "What do you think of the United Card going coupon book style?" I haven't heard any data points about that, Rodrigo, and I apologize. When I look at Dugroz data points, I tend to skew towards the stuff that I like. I mean, obviously, we like what we like. I'm not big on like co-branded airline cards, so it's just something I haven't really looked into. John says, "The microphone sounds good, and I appreciate that." Frugal Dad says, "There's no $1 candy in New Jersey." How many of you, raise your hand at home in the privacy of your own home or wherever you're at, remember growing up when literally you go to a gas station? This was my experience up until I was a teenager. A can of pop was 50 cents and a candy bar was 50 cents. Not the king size, but the standard size. Juan Garcia says, "Reports are you're no longer able to product change to the OG Freedom Card." That would be a data point and a half. Thank you, Juan. I had not heard that. Cesar has arrived. Mi hermano from brother from another mother. Good to see you. Mojo. Good morning, Mojo. And Cesar says, "Been hitting those Delta Business elevated offers. Done with gold and platinum. Might also hit the Delta Business Reserve." Ooh, Cesar's going all in on Delta offers. And who can blame him? If you can use it, it's a good thing to use. Juan mentions that John is going to have a live stream later today. I think I saw that's at 2:00 Central Time. Please correct me if I'm wrong, John. Kirby G, "Morning from a work trip in Kentucky." Awesome. I can't remember if we've met, Kirby, but if we haven't, good to have you on board. Good to have you on board, whether or not you've been here before. And let's see. John clarifies it's 1 o'clock Central, which would be 2 o'clock East Coast time. We've got some greetings in Espanol that I'm not fluent in, so unable to help, but that's okay. Let's keep going here. We've got more data points to share. We've got more Dugroz data points. Click thumbs up. Next up, the IHG Premier Premium card. That came out wrong. The IHG... Rewind the tape. Let's start over. 5, 4, 3. The IHG Business Premier card is back with its best ever welcome offer. I shouldn't say back. It sounds like it's a new thing. A whopping 200,000 IHG points. We've been at 140 on this card for quite some time, and there have been elevated offers up to 170. But now we've got 200K. The offer is split into 2 tiers or tranches if you want to impress your friends and be like Ask Sebi. The same 140K after spending $4,000 in 3 months, and then add on to that an additional 60K points by completing a total of $9,000 of spend within the first 6 months. I would say that is a solid offer, a very, very solid offer. Oops, I disappeared there. Yeah, I'm actually thinking about having Mrs. Dugroz sign up for this. Now, I've already got the card. The hard part is if she did sign up for it, I would want to roughly coordinate our free night certificates. And that's actually going to be mentioned in the theme of the day as we get a little closer to that. Hey, looky, TH is here and drops a $2 super chat. Thank you for your support. Celebrate. Looking forward to the theme of the day. Let's go. Tips and tricks on rip trips. And I will also mention, I mentioned that Juan Garcia and others have that squiggly little symbol to the right of their name. What is that? That is a channel membership. I have one and only one channel membership level. It's called a Dugroz Die Hard. You get access to polls sometimes that others don't get access to. In fact, I took a poll yesterday, which helped determine what the theme of the day was. Early releases to videos, a little more attention from yours truly. And most importantly, I've got somewhere between 38 and 40 members only videos. These are the videos that will stay as members only videos forever. And if you want to check those out, you can drop your commitment at any time, $3 a month, log in, watch 10 or 15 of those videos, see if it's worth keeping. Or you can just become a member like every 3 months and then drop it if you want. I won't be offended, I promise. But the most longeved members get special shout outs too, of course. Cesar says, I was approved for both the IHG Premier Personal and Business way over 524 when they had the last elevated offers. That's good to know. Might have to try that. Next data point. You can currently buy Wyndham points for as low as 0.72 cents per point. And this goes through April 15th. This is targeted. It also says the annual 100,000 point purchase limit has been increased to 200,000 points. So taking the bonus into consideration, you can actually purchase 360,000 points if you have platinum or diamond status. You get diamond status by holding the Wyndham Earner business credit card, which I happen to have. And this is targeted, so not everyone has the exact same ratios. It's sort of like a mystery bonus, but I'm pretty sure anyone who has one of those top statuses gets the best possible bonus. Just because I want to please my audience here, I did the appropriate testing and went into my own account and checked it out and determined that, yes, the math does check out there, but I'll do it right here live on the program. So for $130, I could buy 18,000 total points, and that comes out to 7.222222 cents per point. So the math is real. In the words of Han Solo, it's real. All of it. Wyndham points. You can use Wyndham points for things like Vacasa, cottages.com in the United Kingdom, which are my two big uses. I have used it once on a Days Inn, once on a La Quinta, not a La Quinta, a Wingate by Wyndham, and that was Meh. Next Dugroz data point. Let's keep going here. It's about US Bank. What crazy thing has US Bank done? Well, despite all the rumors about the Smartly card, they launched a new card called the Shield card. I have to imagine this was before they knew about all the problems with the Smartly. There's kind of a picture here at the bottom. I accidentally cut it off. I apologize. This is Hat Tip Doctor of Credit. Here's the features of this Shield card. It is definitely a balance transfer card. We've got a $0 annual fee. We've got a 0% APR on purchase and balance transfers for the first 24 billing cycles. 5% balance transfer fee. I would not use this for balance transfers, but if you had like a large purchase coming up and you needed to spread that out, this could definitely have its use. Maybe some point I'll sit around and think about whether it's better to use this or a 2% cashback everywhere card. Kind of depends on how much money you're making. If you can hold it the full 24 months and you get 4% interest every year, that's like 8% interest, which is better than the 2% cashback. This is weird. You get a $20 statement credit for 11 consecutive months of purchases. So buy a pack of gum once a month after making your large purchase. At the end of 11 months, you get $20. Weird. You do get 4% back in their reward center for travel, air, hotel, car, that kind of stuff. Which that part's lame. Who cares about that? But the interesting balance transfer thing, yeah. Ian says, I think I'm going to pull the trigger on the Rewards Plus card. I'm going to be mad if it doesn't go away now. I hear you, Ian. By the way, good to see you this morning. And Rodrigo Mendez says, the IG business card bonus makes you work really hard for that last 60,000 points, though. I don't disagree with you. Where was it? Which one was that? Here it is. 4K spend for the first tranche and 9K spend for the second tranche. So it's only an extra $5,000 because it's 9,000 total. So yeah, if you can do a lot of your spend at like office supply stores, buy some of those prepaid MasterCard gift cards, that kind of stuff. Mojo asked, do you have an IG or X account? I'm not sure if I've asked this before. That's probably Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. I do not. I've never expanded into social media. I did have a TikTok account for a little while, hated it, and closed it. So I've thought about adding a website. I've thought about adding other social media presences, and just hasn't tripped my trigger yet. If somebody thinks I have a great use case for that, let me know and I'll be happy to look into it or consider it. Flying squirrels. How you doing, flying squirrels? With a picture of a turtle. Interesting. I love your avatar. Remember, you can just product change a city card you no longer use. My wife product changed a double cash to a Rewards Plus yesterday. Took about 10 minutes on the phone. That's some great input there, flying squirrel. Thank you. And good to see you on board. I don't remember speaking to you on a live stream. I did see that you joined as a channel member, and thank you for doing that. Chad Pennycuff has arrived. Howdy, y'all. We already did the data point on the Rewards Plus, Chad. If you want to back up and watch it, you sure can, but I'm glad to have you here this morning, as am I, Dong Kim. Good to see you here, Dong. Thanks for being here. Let's keep going. I'll need to figure out if I've already seen this. I've already seen this. We're on this data point. Nope, that's the Shield. All right, we're ready for some data points of a more personal nature, or a channel stuff membership here. No, not this one. This one. Okay, did I nail it? Did I get it? Yes. Okay, so I like to acknowledge people that have been Dugroz diehards, that is channel members, for a good duration of time, and I like to celebrate your 1-year anniversary. I don't remember if I got Ryan Siebers and John R. They're over 12 months. I think I did, but I'll mention again just in case. Thank you to Ryan and John. And then the two folks reaching their 12-month anniversary this month are Cedric and QC Man 2000, who I refer to as Quality Control Man. So thank you to Cedric and Quality Control Man for 12 months of being a diehard. I really appreciate that. YouTube told me earlier this week, every week I get a summary and it says, let's play a game, and it wants me to guess something. How many members do you have? And I have 54 members now. So really cool to be over 50 members. I really appreciate that. Thanks, guys. If you join as a Dugroz diehard while the live stream is going, there'll be a little green box. We can all celebrate together. Mojo says, I know I was late to the party on the question submission for this week, but I posted a lengthy question on the post. I wasn't sure if I could get your thoughts on it. Later in the live stream, when we get to that section, Mojo, if I don't see it, I think I probably will. I haven't checked my phone in the last 30 minutes or so. Just speak up, and I'll be glad to address it at that time. Thank you. This is one of those kind of rando and kind of interesting things. So I have the Wells Fargo Signify card, which is a business card that gives 2% back everywhere. And just because I wanted to try something out as a little experiment, I used it at a gas station earlier in the month on March 9th at Casey's in Altoona, Iowa. Casey's is a gas station, very popular. They have pizza that people really like. Yes, here in Iowa, you get your pizza from a gas station. And spent $8.21. I don't even know what I bought. Probably a slice of breakfast pizza or something else. Because I had this vague memory in the back of my mind that using a MasterCard business card gets you some little weird bonus. Sure enough, 14 days later, this posted RBT Casey's Easy Saving New York 0.8, which is 1%. And that helped trigger my memory. So if you have a credit card that is both a MasterCard and a business card, as far as I'm aware, there's this thing called RBT, and I don't even know what it stands for, but it's some sort of agreement with MasterCard that gas stations around the country, most of them, not all, but most will give you an extra 1% cash back. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to sign up for it. It just kind of happens automatically. So if you have, once again, a business credit card that is a MasterCard and use it at a gas station, look for that extra 1% cash back. So your 2% cash back on your Signify kind of becomes like 3x on gas. Not sure I would use this on an ongoing basis for my gas card, but it's an interesting experiment. I know like the IHG business credit card is a MasterCard and has, I think, 5x on gas. So you get your 5 IHG points, which is kind of like 2.5 if you think about the fact you could buy them for half a penny each. And then in addition to that, you get 1% statement credit. So it's kind of like 3.5% cash back equivalent that card. Can you think of other business credit cards that are MasterCards that you might want to use at a gas station? We can brainstorm that together, and maybe someday that'll be the subject of an entire video. Ian wants to know if Luke's coming to get a pizza today. John R says Casey's pizza is so good. You wouldn't think it, but it's very good, especially the breakfast pizza. City Business AA would work. I would imagine it would. I don't know that I've ever tried it with a city card because I don't have any city business cards because there aren't any other than the American Airlines card or cards. So be the data point you want to see. Obviously, if it's the difference between a sign up and not a sign up, it would make a difference. Next data point here. Oh, we already did that one. I apologize. I did that one too. We'll get into some personal data points here. Let me tuck that away for just a second. Speaking of the Wells Fargo Signify business credit card, I already have this card. I already signed up for it. And after signing up for the Signify business credit card, they have sent me 3 of these, a targeted mailer telling me to open a Signify card. What's a little infuriating about this, though, is that this is the 3rd one I've gotten. After I got the 2nd one, I applied a 2nd time, was denied, and they said you can only have 1 Signify card per business. And this is addressed to the same business, my sole prop. So it's just very frustrating. Why are you sending me a mailer asking me to sign up for something you won't allow me to sign up for? Also, it's very wasteful. Shame on you, Wells Fargo. That was random. All right. Here is a picture of a Delta gift card that I purchased at Walgreens, and I don't think I have any confidential information showing there. Nope, just the date I got it. The reason I got a Delta gift card is because there is a RIP trip coming up to upstate New York towards the second half of April. And my wife has a business platinum card, and I want to trigger the airline incidental credit for something that's useful for me. There's been a known trick that's around for a while. If you get a Delta flight, pay partially with a gift card and partially with a credit card, the way Amex will recognize that is as an incidental up to around $199 maximum, something along those lines. So, I wanted to try it, and I was ready to do it on a very specific day. So I used my phone. I went to the Fluz or Fluz app, whichever you prefer, and bought a gift card on Delta. Came through immediately. When I tried to use it, it wouldn't work. It kept telling me something like, this number has not been registered or something along those lines. And I was like, oh no, it doesn't work because it's Fluz. It's all screwed up. So I quickly drove to Walgreens and bought one. So now I've got two. Bought them for both around $66, $67 because that was the exact amount I needed to bring it down to where I wanted it to be. Quickly tried the in-person gift card, exact same error message. I was like, oh no. What I found out through some vigorous Google searching and trolling on Reddit, not trolling, lurking on Reddit, is that it's sort of a known thing. If you read the fine print on the back of the Delta gift card container or on Fluz, it says it will take at least 24 hours to activate. Please allow up to 72 hours. And in my case, it was more than 24 hours. I bought it on Monday evening around 7 p.m. Couldn't get it to work at all Monday, at all Tuesday. It started working on Wednesday, like mid-afternoon. So it was more than 36 hours, but less than 3 full days. I think it was around 40 hours between when the purchase was made and when I could use it. So just a hat tip to myself and a fair warning to everyone. If you're buying Delta gift cards, please allow a couple days for those to activate. Just, at least in my case, that's how it worked out. Chad said his data point, I buy Delta gift cards at Myers or Public. They activate instantly, and you can use them instantly. I don't know what the deal was, but on both Flus and on the in-person purchase, they wouldn't work. Maybe activate's not the right word, but you couldn't use them towards a Delta flight for about 40 hours. Okay, Filmo's on board. How you doing, Filmo's World? That RBT thing is called MasterCard Easy Rewards. They have some restaurants at 4% and hotel chains too. Interesting. I did not know that. And also, good morning, everyone. Hey, Filmo, lots of people saying hi. Luke is connecting at JFK, and Chad says, yeah, I booked my flights the same day. All right, so Myers and Publix, those are the places you want to buy them, not Walgreens and Fluz or Flus, however you say that. So this is just a screenshot showing that it is available on Fluz. And then one more data point about Fluz or Flus. I was really hoping that it would trigger real-time rewards on my US Bank Altitude Reserve card, because I read that the category usually pulls through when buying gift cards on Fluz. And that's FLUZ. It's an app you can get that's sort of a discount purchasing thing. Even though it coded as Delta Airlines on my US BAR, for whatever reason, it said travel for the category, but you can see right here, it only gave me 1x reward. It didn't give me the 3x that you normally see on travel. $56.43 after my Fluz rewards, and didn't even trigger real-time rewards, didn't trigger my travel credit, which I haven't used this year, didn't trigger 3x. So yeah, buying Fluz gift cards for Delta is not a thing that works with US Bank Altitude Reserve. So be the data point you want to see. I tried it. It don't work. Yeah, so that was a little disappointing. I did go ahead and make the booking, though, for a one-way flight to get to upstate New York next month. And the Walgreens, I bought a gift card. I used my Freedom Flex. So unless there's some clawing back involved, which I very much doubt, I'm going to get 3x on Pharmacy from my Freedom Flex, as well as 1X Built. So it's kind of like 4X that I got for buying the in-person gift card. I actually went over to Hy-Vee because I wanted to get a grocery with a Freedom card to get rotating categories. They didn't have Delta gift cards. That was random. All right, so I'd encourage you all to click the thumbs up button to get more people in here. We got 62 people, which is okay, but we're usually up more around 70, 75. We'll get into the theme of the day real soon here. Rodrigo Mendez says, I'm pretty sure Wells Fargo has a 524 like rule. I'm sure of it based on the rejection letter I've gotten. Yeah, I've heard other people list that same point too. Chad asked, or somebody asked Filmo about a link to their channel, and he says, channel still in production, sir, but at like 90%. Hey, that would be awesome. Ian says, Flues has been all wacky lately. I would think wacky or not, it would still, flow through and code with the merchant code you want to code as. Does anybody else have experience buying travel-oriented gift cards like Airbnb or Delta or whatever on Flues and with maybe Chase or a different issuer? Like if you use your Chase Sapphire Reserved, you get 3x because it's travel. That would be good to know. I will say I had like $8 or $9 of Fluz cash from previous purchases, so at least I saved my $8 or $9. That made it worthwhile. Juan Garcia says, Filmo's World, 90% is good enough to apply for cards, so why not good enough for a YouTube channel? That is a good point. Hey, look, we've reached the end of the Dugroz data points, so those are done for the day. Let's go ahead and put that window away. And now we're going to transition into something entirely different, the theme of the day. So what is the theme of the day today? Got to make this full screen, of course. 10 rip trip tricks and a bonus. So for today's main event, theme of the day, whatever you want to call it, we're going to be talking about things that I do when traveling that are general tricks that I like. Many of them are related to points and miles. Many of them are just related to making life easier, but they all have this kind of fusion of both things that just the last 5 years as I've been traveling in this wacky points and miles game, things that help me out. As you may know, I'm kind of an intermittent traveler, not a super ultra diehard traveler. Just because of family and work obligations, I can usually travel about 3 to 5 times a year. I should probably start saying 4 to 5 because it's almost never less than 4. Maybe 2 solo trips. I'll do the creator meetup and then a big family vacation. And then I might do like a side trip, something like that. Like we went spring break to Indianapolis and Ohio once, that kind of thing. Chad says, I need to go to Walgreens today and buy a Disney card. I have a U.S. Bank offer for 15% back at drugstores. Hey, that works out well. Allie is lurking and off on my way to a busy day. Glad to have you, lurker or otherwise, Allie. The little picture we got going on here is my best attempt at AI, making it look like I'm a magician. Get it? Tips and tricks. That's a terrible bow tie, and I'm holding the Aeroplan card. So abracadabra, who's ready for some Dugroz tricks? First, I should probably clarify what is a rip trip. That might really confuse some of you who aren't veterans to this channel. It's an acrostic that I invented maybe 4 or 5 years ago. R stands for rental car. I stands for inn, I-N-N. In other words, lodging, whether it's a hotel, Airbnb, whatever. And then P stands for plane. That one should be pretty self-explanatory. So when we're thinking of points and miles, these are kind of the 3 big things we want to cover. So if you have a rip trip, a true rip trip, you will have elements of all 3 of these things. I realize not everyone uses rental cars, but I sure do. So that's a big aspect of it for me. Once again, if you would be kind enough to click the thumbs up button, I would appreciate that. We've got 62 people on board. Only the people who are really dedicated are coming in right now, but I'm sure some of you will watch this after the fact, and feel free to put a comment down below if you are watching this not in a live kind of format, but for the sake of it, we'll press ahead. I will also mention I thank everyone who's given a super chat or super sticker. 80% of that goes right back into my channel for things like webcams and whatnot. I need a new phone to take pictures with. I've got a lot of pictures to share, and you'll see some of them today. And then 20% is just my family gets money because dad needs to earn money. Asthma break. Moving on. Okay, so those are the three things that are a rip trip. Even though it could be a nice long family vacation, I kind of think of the terminology for rip trip as more associated with like my short 3 to 4 day weekend getaways. And I've made videos about almost all of them. Here's 4 such trips you can go back and find. I went to Norfolk and Yorktown, Virginia. I think it was in 2022. I went to West Virginia, saw some mountains, waterfalls, saw some historical presidential graves in the western part of Virginia. My boys and I stayed at a log cabin. It was a Vacasa in Wisconsin in the fall of 2023. And in the spring of 23 or 22, I don't remember which one, I went to the Gulf Coast of Florida and Alabama around Gulf Shores, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, that kind of thing. So those are some examples. I do have an entire playlist about rip trips. So if you want to watch through them, I do have a link down there in the description box under the video itself. And maybe you can even watch the first video, which looks like this and has an interesting way of remembering. Ian says, the front end of Fluzz always codes as stored value card purchases. Okay, interesting. That's why it didn't trigger real-time rewards then. Filmo says, if the R on Rip Trip is rideshare, can we still count it? I'll allow it. Yes, we can, Filmo. So we can say rental car or rideshare, whichever one is more applicable to you. Here we go. So we're going to take a little trip here, go through 10 tips and tricks related to rip trips for me, but these can also be tips and tricks for you. We're going to take a trip to normalcy, as I did once on one of my rip trips when I went to Normal, Illinois, and the Amtrak station there. Number 1, and these are in really no particular order, the Altitude Reserve's real-time rewards. You probably know what real-time rewards are, but if not, I'll mention very briefly. Certain travel purchases, in fact, most travel purchases subject to certain minimums, will trigger a text message to your phone if you have it set it up correctly and you have this card, and you just reply the word redeem, and then it uses your points to pay for that, cover that travel like a travel eraser. The trick, it's 1.5x on travel. You get to make your own travel portal kind of and cash those points out at 1.5 cents per point. You can book directly with the provider, so you don't have to worry about a portal or anything like that. If you want to go directly to Hertz, directly to Enterprise, directly to Delta Airlines, Holiday Inn Express, you can. No worry about your status not being honored because you're paying them directly. You're just getting a coverage that travel is being credited. This card is terrific for rental cars, and while you can use it on planes, hotels, Ubers, whatever, I'm going to focus on rental cars because that's where it hits the sweet spot for me. Here's a picture I took in Wheeling, West Virginia. That's the same town where you'll find the best Hampton Inn in the United States. It's home of a pre-Civil War era suspension bridge that's really cool. Kind of looks like a rainbow in the background, but that's a bigger bridge that's actually under construction right now. This is the only picture I took of my rental car on that trip. This was at a, you remember the old coin-operated parking meters? It was one of those, and it was slightly rainy that day. It just stopped raining. I thought that was kind of cool to have a coin-operated parking meter. I dropped 35 cents in there or something along those lines. Hey, look, Vincent Pascal stopped by and says the R and Rip Tip can be rebranded as Ride. It won't go with the wrap, but that's a really good idea. Thank you for that. And Chad agrees with rebranding it as either Ride or Ride Share. We have Amex credits to burn. Absolutely. That is a perfectly valid use. I will make that modification in the future. So that would be the Altitude Reserve. Let's get a little more deet on that, focusing in on rental cars here. So you get kind of a slush fund when you do this. Why is that? That seems a little weird. Rental car companies almost always charge you more up front with the pending charge than what the rental car actually costs. So as an example, $200 is a pretty common surcharge, and that's in case you don't fill it up with fuel or you, I don't know, have a bunch of tolls or something to make sure you have enough leg room on your card that they can charge you more. So as an example, say the rental car itself costs exactly $300. The rental car company will charge you a preliminary charge of $500, even though if you fill your car with gas and don't have any tolls, don't wreck it, it'll settle out to be $300 for the ultimate charge. Real-time rewards with this credit card goes off that pending charge. So you would have to have enough points in my example to clear $500 worth of charges at 1.5x. It used to be the case 2 or 3 years ago, you had to have enough points to cover it at 1x. That's no longer the case. As long as you can cover it at 1.5x, you're okay. But it does have to be on that higher preliminary charge. So again, just sticking with my example here, 500 times 100, I don't know why I needed to grab a calculator for that, divided by 1.5, you would have to have 33,334 points in your bank at that time to use the real-time rewards. But I call it a slush fund because that extra $200 can go towards meals, it can go towards tours that you have to pay cash for, or maybe you can use a credit card, but there's no way to use points, those kind of things. So this really fits my travel style, that 3 or 4 day weekend where I just need a rental car. Unfortunately, I usually only have enough points to do this about once a year, but that once a year, man, it comes in handy. I also want to mention you can use the actual card. I mean, the physical card, the metal card, which you rarely get to use because most of the time you're using your USB-R on mobile wallet on your phone. But with travel, you can actually hand the card to the car rental place as you drive through that little booth, and make sure you wait till the thing goes up so you don't pop your tires on the rip them open thing. It's kind of fun to use the actual metal card and be like, I'm a big shot, I have a metal card. Well, I should clarify, I can use the actual card, you can't, unless you're already in, LOL. As you probably heard, they closed this card to new applications. I know a lot of us are already grandfathered in, so I apologize. I'm not trying to rub it in, but it's something that I use all the time, so I had to mention it. All right, let's move on to the next tip or trick here. Tip number 2, autoslash.com for the best car rates often. So this is an actual website, just like I have it there, autoslash.com. Type it in. This little window will come up at the top if you click track a rental. So you got get a quote where you could start from scratch. I prefer to track an existing rental. Website might look a little early 2000s, a little unprofessional, but it is a great website, I promise you. The trick, track and beat an existing reservation. This is often the best option. So what I mean by this is you already have a car rental reservation, and I'll get into a little more details here on the next screen. You can then type in which company you're using, like Avis, Hertz, Enterprise, Alamo, whatever. Your confirmation number, go to the next screen, provide a few details, and it will somehow look up that reservation, and then it's sort of like progressive. We show you competitor rates and try to beat that quote. It almost always saves at least $10. Sometimes it saves $30, $50. I've had it save almost $100 before. It just varies. There's no spam so far. I know you'll be like, but I don't want a website where I have to enter my email. You know, there's a button you can click for future offers, which I just ignore. I've been using this for 3, 4, 5 years, and they've never sent me any spam. So I'm good with it. Here's some examples of the email that you will get. So I did this recently for my pending trip to upstate New York. I think the reservation I booked was like $265. So this one's about the same. Dollar had the best in terms of paying now. I don't like that option because this is no cancellation. Well, you can cancel for free up to 48 hours before pickup, but I want to pay directly at the booth. I don't want to pay auto slash. I've done it one time. I did it in New Orleans with Dollar where I knew for sure I was going to be getting it because I want the flexibility to cancel last second. I'll tell you why on the next tip and trick. Um, Budget is cheaper if you want to pay at the booth. I don't really think of budget and dollars first tier, so enterprise is a good option. So you've got lots of options here with this. Here's a couple things worth mentioning. Usually it goes to Priceline. I don't know why, but for some reason AutoSlash must have a good deal with Priceline. And your reservation flows through to Hertz, Enterprise, and I said others, ? Because I almost always end up with either Hertz or Enterprise, one of the two. So in other words, what I'm saying is you use AutoSlash, you use their special customized link that they email you. You go to Priceline, and in Priceline, it will have a place where you can put in your Hertz or Enterprise number. Really, any car rental. What do they call them? It's not a frequent flyer miles, frequent driver account number, whatever, and then it'll flow through to that. And then it shows on their app. So like if you have the Hertz or Enterprise app on your phone or whatever your preferred rental car company is, it'll show on there. When you get the charge on your credit card, it shows as the rental car place. It doesn't show as AutoSlash. It doesn't show as Enterprise. At least if you do the pay at the, pay when you arrive option. If you pay directly to AutoSlash, to be honest with you, I don't remember exactly how it codes in that particular instance. I'm sorry, I should be using the big screen here. Chad says they will track and beat other reservations. They won't do it a second time and beat their own reservation that they're getting a commission on. Chad says, I don't like giving up Costco travel benefits. I get 2% executive rebates back too, so I usually don't take the AutoSlash deals. But the great thing about it is you can track it and then you don't have to take it. Your first point about beating other reservations, I'll come back to that a little later. TM Cowling says loyalty number for your Hertz, Enterprise, Avis, whatever number. Thank you. Appreciate you clarifying that. And it does count towards points. I've never felt like car rental company points are enough to make my decision off of. I'll just go for a company I trust. But, I'll earn a few points with Enterprise here and there, and I've never had it yet. But someday I'll have enough for a free reservation. That thing that flows through, as long as you put in your loyalty number with Enterprise, does count as an Enterprise rental. So it's not like a hotel where you're not getting your status. If you have status, like I have Hertz Presence Circle, that flows through also. Now, sometimes because you book third party, you have to stop at the little secondary outside booth. So you don't have to wait in line with all the plebeians, but if you go directly to the parking lot, there's that little booth for people that need to make a change or correction. You might have to stop by there just so they know which credit card you're using. Or they might I've had other times where you just get in whatever car you want from the Presence Circle row. And when you get to the booth, that's the booth with the gate where you don't want to pop your tires. That's where you show your credit card. And that's when it triggers the charge. It varies. Ian says, did I hear Costco? My ears perked out. I maxed out my first executive membership in 14 days. Now I've got to wait a year for my $12.50. MR says, Avis are a bunch of weirdos. They call it a wizard number. Yes, that's correct. And I'm going to comment on Avis in a little bit. Good to see you this morning, MR. Thanks for the input. And I also say, keep trying. That is refresh. As Chad mentioned, the first one you track can't be their own. And that's why I say I like the track feature, not the get a quote feature. And I'll put all the pieces together here with the next trip. But when you get the email, you can click in the email and it'll show you the new quotes. But when you click on it, if it's been more than like 6 hours, it'll say, it's been more than 6 hours. Do you want a new set of quotes? You just click the refresh button. 5-10 minutes later, I'll send you another email with up-to-date prices. And those change. So what I often do is I'll lock in one and then I'll keep refreshing and whatnot as it goes. And I'll have like AutoSlash compete with Travelocity or something along those lines. Number 3, book a backup rental car. Now, this sounds really weird, but I'm going to explain it. And before I explain it, it's story time. So the pictures here, the bottom picture is just me in West Virginia with my rental car. I often forget to get a picture of a rental car, but then really need it for B-roll stuff. This is at some random cemetery in West Virginia. But this picture up here is from, I think, the fall of 2021. So we were still kind of dealing with COVID. You see, most of the people are wearing masks and stuff. And this is the rental car counter at Avis in the Pittsburgh airport. So here's the story. After I blow my nose, excuse me, I'm going to grab a Kleenex right over there. I haven't left. I'm coming back. Story time from the Pittsburgh airport. So I took a rip trip in, I think it was fall of 21, and I went into Pittsburgh. That's where I saw that Wheeling suspension bridge later on, because the sticky uppy part of West Virginia is really close to Pittsburgh. And I didn't have any activities the first day. I flew out very early on a Saturday, like it was Southwest, layover in St. Louis, and got there. I landed around 11 o'clock local time, something like that. And I decided, you know what? I would really like to see the stadium where the Pittsburgh Steelers play. I think it's called Three Rivers Stadium. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. The University of Pittsburgh also plays their game there, and they were playing some early in the season, not super appealing game. So I could get tickets to this college football game for like $12 and then another $12 for parking or something like that. So it was really cheap. So I knew landing at 11 a.m. I wouldn't get there in time for the 12 o'clock kickoff, but surely I could get there by like 1 o'clock or something like that and see. I'd probably get there early to mid second quarter was my thought. All I got to do is stop by the rental car counter, pick up my rental car, head out. It was an airport where the counter's right there in the airport. You don't have to, I don't think you had to take a shuttle. That's my memory, at least. When I got there, the rental car situation was bleak, and I had a reservation with Avis, and they ran out of cars. I mean, they literally ran out of cars. You know, during COVID, a lot of companies sold off their excess inventory to keep from going bankrupt. So what they had done is basically, if they had 20 cars the night before, they rented out all 20, which means if one person returns their car late, it screws the whole thing up. And in addition to that, there was one employee. It was an older lady. She said, I'm kind of new. I've only worked here like 2 months, so I'm sorry. And as you can imagine, I don't remember if I took this picture at that moment or later on, but the people waiting in line were not happy. There's a lot. You can tell by this guy's body language. He's like, I had to sit on the floor here. I was trying to like book a backup. I was trying to make sure there wasn't a screw up. And after a while, I'm like, I'm not going to make it to the football game. I ended up waiting in the airport like 2 hours. I'm like, well, there goes an experience and $24. So I just said, you know what? Screw it. Cancel my reservation. Right behind them, the counter to the right, I think was dollar, but don't quote me on that. And for whatever reason, there was like 7 people in line for Avis for every one person in line for dollar. I think Avis had promised a bunch of low rates, and then it came back to haunt them. So I went over and talked to the dollar guy, and he was like, yeah, we're all booked up for today, but I can get you in first thing tomorrow. So I was like, fine. I ended up paying almost the same amount for 3 days with dollars as I would have had 4 days with Avis, but at least I got a car. But again, he was out. I couldn't pick it up till the next morning. Thankfully, the Hyatt Regency that I stayed at was connected to the airport, so I could just walk over there. I ended up watching the game on TV, part of it, and just chilling out the rest of that first day. So Saturday of my trip was almost like a waste because Avis screwed up and didn't have any backup cars and literally ran out of cars. So where I'm going with this is book a backup rental car. I like to go into my trips with 2 car rental reservations, one that I plan to keep and one that's a throwaway. But you have to be really careful about how you do this. So the trick is make your initial good enough booking via a third party, Priceline, Travelocity, etc. And this comes back in with the AutoSlash thing that I mentioned. So I will go out and use Priceline directly, Travelocity, Hotels.com, Expedia, whatever, to book a rental car. that I don't really care about. And I'm going to make sure it's a risk-free pay-at-the-counter rental. Now, maybe that's part of the reason why rental car places run out of cars is because they have these risk-free rentals and they never know how many people are going to show up. But make sure it's the kind where if you don't cancel it, you don't get charged, basically, which is most of them, but just look at the fine print to make sure. And make sure it's a company you don't have an account with. Because I have found that even if you don't put your loyalty number in, they have ways of finding out that it's you. So here's story time number 2 about rental cars. It wasn't that trip. It was another trip. I think it was in Panama City Beach, Florida, when I flew there to go to the Gulf Coast. I had booked Avis and another place. I'll say the other place was Enterprise, but I don't know for sure. I didn't really think of one as my backup and one not as the backup. I think Avis was like $10 more, so I was leaning towards Enterprise, but I wasn't 100% sure. I was going to wait till I got there and just make my decision with boots on the ground. Even though I used like Travelocity or something like that to book Avis, because I have a loyalty account with Avis, I think I had to put my credit card number into Travelocity just to hold it, even though it said in the fine print, they assured me your credit card would not get charged until you actually make the booking. Somehow, when I put in my, when I put in the credit card, I'm not sure how this happened, but like Avis recognized it was me and that I have an account with Avis. So when I landed, my US Bank Altitude Reserve binged at me. Bung, bung, bung. Do you want to use real-time rewards for Avis? And I'm like, I haven't committed yet. So somehow, even though it was a third-party booking, because I had used that credit card before and it was through Travelocity, it was for Avis, and it codes as Avis, they knew it was me and went ahead and charged it anyway. So make sure it's a company you don't have an account with. This is for your initial backup, good enough one. And then cancel after you arrive. Technically, I think you can just ghost them and it's okay, but I want to be at least a halfway decent person. So once my plane is landed, I get to the rental car area, kind of look around, make sure that my primary one is okay, then I'll cancel the backup. To be a little more specific, this strategy works actually great in conjunction with AutoSlash. Make the non-desired company your backup. So for me, I really like corn. The non-desired companies are Dollar, Budget, and Alamo. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those, but I just really like Hertz and Enterprise. This is the travel folder on my iPhone. So I've got 3 pages. Page 1 is hotels. Page 2 is airlines. Page 3 is everything else. And you'll see across the top row, we have Hertz, Enterprise, and Avis. I used to use Avis. Now I just use Hertz and Enterprise. So as much as possible, I end up going for one of those. I've just found I have better experiences. I don't want to book with Avis because I do have like a loyalty account. I don't want that same thing to happen again. So for my throwaway rental, I'll book Dollar, Budget, or Alamo. I used Dollar once in New Orleans. It was fine. So I'm not saying those are bad companies necessarily. The Budget's owned by Avis, so I may not trust them. But that's what I'd make for my backup. And then I would make the preferred company what I get through AutoSlash. So when I use AutoSlash, I don't often take the cheapest. A lot of times it's like $5 more, $10 more to take Enterprise as opposed to Budget. So I'll do that. For me, the preferred ones are Hertz or Enterprise. I would also be willing to do National because I've heard they're really good and have great customer service. You can go directly to the whatever green Irish line, whatever it is they call it. And I did use National once and it was great, but most of the time they're like 30 to 40% more expensive. So it usually doesn't work out. Avoid Avis. And this is where I'm talking about Avis and their weirdness. I had that experience where they ran out of cars. I had an experience where they lied to me and said the reason they charged me more was because I returned my car at a certain time, but I had multiple time-stamped photos showing that I actually returned it at the time I said I did. They just literally made stuff up. And then in Panama City Beach, Florida, they gave me the wrong car. I don't mean the wrong type of car. They handed me the keys for a reservation in someone else's name. It would be like if my reservation, the keys said this reservation is for Filmo, and Filmo got a reservation that said it's for Dugroz. So literally, like, if he had wrecked the car, they would have thought I had wrecked the car. Fortunately, neither of us wrecked. So after I had like 5 bookings in a row with Avis, and 3 out of the 5 had a major problem. I said, that's it. 3 strikes, you're out. I'm done with Avis. Maybe I'll come back to him at some point, but not in the near future, most likely. All right, I got to catch up on some comments here. Filmo says, wow, renting a car sounds like something Filmo shall avoid at all costs. No covered bridge visits for me. Hey, I realize it may not be for everyone. I love it. And I know it sounds a little complicated once you've done it like 2 or 3 times. Piece of cake. This whole thing, it took me 4 times longer to explain than for me to actually do it. Happy Tom's here, says, good morning, all. He's a Dugroz diehard. Ian says, companies are using a lot more AI to connect things. Amex is getting very good at this. The Emerald Isle at National, not the Irish Isle. Ian says $4.99 for the full screen fun. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. I actually did get a new webcam. I just have to figure out how to change the setting on StreamYard, because when I do it on WeVideo, which is what I use for standalone videos, it is the correct size. It's like this weird, like, extra skinny thing. What I ended up doing was I bought the exact same webcam that I had before, just 1 notch higher in quality. So the old one was 780p. This is 1080, 1040, whatever it is. And I'm like, sometimes the easiest solution is the best solution. So thank you. But I will definitely redeploy that to something else in the technological realm. So I appreciate your patronage. Celebrate. Thank you very much. I don't remember with Vincent. Did I do the motion? Celebrate. Thanks, Vincent. Just in case I forgot. All right, let's keep moving on. I think we're done with rental cars, but don't quote me on that. We are. Number 4, eat a big breakfast and skip lunch. Here's your standard Holiday Inn Express or Hyatt Place or whatever breakfast over there. The trick. The name kind of says it all. So I like to, when I'm traveling, especially those 4-day weekends, 5-day, 3-day, whatever weekend getaways, I've only got so much time to do all the things I want to do. So I'm just going to not eat lunch. So I will find a place where I get a free hotel breakfast. And if it's like a, Holiday Inn Express or a La Quinta or Staybridge Suites or something like that, probably has a Hampton Inn, it'll have a free breakfast anyway. If not, if it's a notch up where you have to pay for breakfast, you could pay yourself back, like on the Aeroplan card. More on that later. You could use Hilton credits, now that we're all wondering, what am I going to do? I can't buy gift cards. Maybe you're paying at, what's a good example? A Hilton branded Hilton, like the Hilton Tower Bridge, something like that. And they don't have free breakfast, but they do have breakfast. And you've got, your $15 a day or $30 a day, and you spend more than that, use your Hilton credits. But however you do it, get a nice, hearty American breakfast and eat a big one and then skip your lunch. And then I will often, somewhere around 5 o'clock, eat supper. Now, big disclaimer here. This may not work with family or other people. This only works for me when I'm traveling solo, because both my wife and kids are like, I'm hungry. I can't skip lunch like you, but I have the resources to be able to skip lunch. And the idea is, when I'm doing these fall and spring rip trips, daylight is limited. The sun goes down at like 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever. And most of the activities I like to do are outdoor activities, presidential graves, waterfalls, whatever, boat tours. So once you hit about 6 o'clock, you're done for the day. So come in, get a nice big evening meal, but just skip lunch. Lunch is for squares. MR is right. More time for daylight activities. That's right, Doug. I'm almost ashamed how many pictures I had in my phone when I just typed in breakfast taken at hotels. And hopefully this is making you hungry. The top row here, I don't know where any of these are, other than this one, I have no clue. This one, can you see my mouse moving around when I do it? Tell me if you can see my mouse or not when I'm jiggling it over pictures. Top left, no idea. Top middle, I'm pretty sure if you look closely, it's got that kind of weird, like, multi-Sidegon shape. I think that's a Hampton Inn. Top right, that plate just looks like a Hyatt Place. I think that was either a Hyatt Place or a Hyatt House. The bottom row, funny enough, I know exactly what it is just by looking at the food. Bottom left is at the Hilton Tower Bridge in London, because look how the sausages are kind of squatty and fat. These are English sausages, not American sausages. And they like cheese, and they gave you this own little personalized jelly thing to put on your pastry. The bottom middle one is at the Hyatt Centric or Centric in New Orleans, because they had this Southern style biscuits and gravy that Xavier turned me on to. Oh, so good. Thank you, Xavier. And then the bottom right, this is a fancy pants upper class breakfast. These aren't hash browns. These are breakfast potatoes and eggs Benedict or something like that. This is at the Salamander Middleburg in Northern Virginia, which I got that breakfast for free because I had a temporary I prefer status, thank you to my Aeroplan card, and hat tip to Matt Clausen for telling me about that. The mouse is, in fact, visible. Thank you. 64 people on board. It's held pretty steady. Click thumbs up if you've not yet done so, though. Anybody want to join as a member during the live stream? Number 5, look for laundry. Look for laundry. Look for laundry. That's an old church song called Look to the Lamb of God. I just now decided to change the words to. This is a picture of the laundry machines at the Embassy Suites in Washington, D.C. Oh, man, those were lifesavers. This is at my cabin I booked through cottage.com in Wales. This is one of those weird combination washer and dryers where you can just click a button and it'll like wash, that it drains out all the water, and then the hot air comes in and it dries. Now, it was small and it took forever, but it worked. So here's the trick. Pack a little bit lighter if you plan on doing laundry on your trip. In my experience, like a 4-day weekend with nothing but a carry-on bag is like just maybe about 10 to 20% short of the amount of clothes I want. Plus, when you put your, you switch from hotel number 1 to hotel number 2 or switch to your Airbnb, you got the stinky clothes right next to the clean clothes. It's like, I get about halfway in or end of the 3rd day, beginning of the 4th day, I want to run a load of laundry. Plan to do laundry. Duh. This can be tricky, especially if the hotel is too fancy. And I'll give you an illustration of what I mean on the next slide here. So again, looking in upstate New York in the Albany area. Albany is a song by Roger Whittaker. Albany is the capital of New York. I know I did that video about budget hotels and came to the conclusion that Hyatt is the best far and away, a Hyatt Place. However, I've got 2 different free night certificates that are going to expire in May with IHG, so I better use them. So I'll use one on the day that I land, but on the last day, so going into the last day, the end of the 3rd day, the 4th, beginning of the 4th day, I'm debating between these 2 places. We've got a Staybridge Suites, which you'll see here has both free breakfast, and if you click on all the amenities, it says housekeeping and laundry, on-site guest self-laundry facilities. Hours of operation, 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. That means all the time. Sometimes it helps to go into like the reviews or Google reviews and see what people say. And a year ago, Cat in the Hat said, we also utilized the free laundry, which was great for washing Saturday's dirty uniforms and having it fresh for Sunday games. So that's pretty cool. Not only do they have self-service laundry, they're free. That Embassy Suites I showed you in Washington, D.C., you had to pay like $2 or $3 a wash, something like that, and then $2 per dry. If you click on the Crown Plaza in Albany, it's a little bit nicer hotel, a little more upscale. It doesn't have free breakfast because, it's more, it's not fancy pants, but it's like moderately fancy pants. They only have dry cleaning pickup or laundry valet, meaning you're going to pay out the wazoo if you want laundry done because it's dry cleaning. So the question is, would you like a slightly fancier hotel with no laundry or a more basic hotel with laundry? I haven't decided yet, but I think I'm probably going to take the Staybridge Suites. Free breakfast and a laundry machine, that suits me. And if I'm traveling by myself, as long as it's clean, quiet, and comfortable, that's probably good enough, don't you think? The Don Kim says the inclusions of eggs now makes all of those meals fancy. I agree. Having laundry at hotels is a big one for us team carry-on group. Mike Newland, I agree with you, Mike. Maybe someday I'll do like a what's in my carry-on bag. Gumbo says laundry is very important for team backpack only. Oh, it'd be even more important. Yeah, if you're like, I'm going to get basic economy, like United doesn't even give you a carry-on bag if you're basic. But a backpack counts as a personal item. So that is totally true. Sean D's on board, says, happy Saturday, better late than never. I agree. Thanks for being a diehard, Sean. Filmo says, Filmo doesn't do laundry on vacation. I just buy new clothes and throw out the dirty stuff. Okay, buddy, whatever suits you, friend. Next, number 6, eat at the hotel. Take it easy. This is a picture of some fish and chips at the Doubletree, Springfield, Illinois Hotel Lincoln. That was very good. And that's in the hotel restaurant. The trick. A hotel restaurant can usually be charged to your room. And why is that important? Because it codes as travel. So there's lots of different ways. You know, if you get something to code as travel, you can use points instead of just paying cash. In addition to that, sometimes I don't feel like going out. So like I said, if I wake up at, I want to say wake up at 7:30, but let's be honest, I'm not waking up at 7:30 unless I have to. If I wake up at 8:15, get ready real quick, eat in the hotel. I'm heading out about 9. From 9:15 until 6:15, I'm going and doing all the things, you know. So I might want to just be like, let's just get back to the hotel. I don't want to get in the car or take an Uber, you know, a mile away to, I don't know, Bennigan's or whatever. I'll just eat at the hotel restaurant. Let me back up here. It's important that a hotel restaurant can be charged your room for a couple reasons. You could use pay yourself back on the Aeroplan card, or you know how like we've been all wondering how we're going to use our Hilton credits now that you can't buy gift cards. Well, hey, here's a way to use your Hilton credit. So if you've got like a Surpass or a Business Platinum and you got to use your $50 quarterly credit, I think the Hilton Business card has a $60 quarterly credit. You know, leave that as your card on file, charge your room. I think if you're using the card itself, not Aeroplan, but if you're using like Hilton card itself, you can just pay at the restaurant with the card and that works too. But I like to just charge it all to the room and have just one big bill at the end. And then Embassy Suites has this unique trick that worked out bigly for our family in Washington, D.C. this last summer. So they have, I don't remember what they call it, afternoon snack or happy hour or something like that, where you can get some snacks. Like they'll have Skittles or M&Ms and chips and salsa or something like that, little churros. I think there's some people that were so cheap, they told their kids, son, we're filling up on churros. That's our supper tonight because it's free. And it goes from like 4 to 6, something like that. They also turn on their pop machine and you can get free pop during that time. If you are age 21 up, you get 2 tickets per person per room for an alcoholic beverage. As Luke calls it, a fruity drink of some kind. So you could get either your pop or your fruity drink, take it back to your table, and then instead of filling up on churros, actually order a meal. But you don't have to pay for pop because let's be honest, nowadays a pop is $3 to $4. And at least at the Embassy Suites in Washington, D.C., the waitress said, yeah, that's fine. You know, just get the pop out of the machine for free and just bring it over here. So kids and I had unlimited pop for free because of Embassy Suites. Thank you, Embassy Suites. I appreciate that. Has anyone else got that to work at other Embassy Suites? Where were we? Okay, DVC has laundry in the room, spoiled. That's Disney Vacation Clubs. That was Chad Pennycuff, of course, the master of Disney Vacation Clubs. I mean, that's his thing. John says, I don't do laundry while traveling. I always stay clean, so my clothes stay clean. Well, if you're going to a waterfall 2 hours from the nearest airport, sometimes you get kind of dirty. Chad says, charging the room also gives you hotel card multipliers. Exactly. Chad says, come to Orlando in the summer. You need to change clothes twice a day. You either sweat your butt off or you get rained on. I think John was being slightly facetious. He was there in New Orleans where it was humid. Ron says, I've dropped off clothes at laundromat while on work travel, especially when work pays for it. Man, if work is paying for it, absolutely. I don't know that I would trust a drop-off scenario, though. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It seems like laundromats are always on the wrong side of the tracks, if you know what I mean. If you're in normal Illinois, it's not on the normal side of things. John was, in fact, joking. That's a nice work perk, Ron. Kirby G. How you doing, Kirby G? Good to see you this morning. I'm always surprised how decent hotel restaurant food can be. Was doing a home finding trip for a possible job offer. And the Crown Plaza was the best food I had on the trip, maybe because it was free. Awesome. Was it free more than just breakfast, or did you use some other trick to make it free? I always love free food tricks. Some of the hotels we've stayed at have the best food in the whole trip. Happy Tom says, I made the laundry mistake once, never again. Book and schedule your laundry. I think you're saying the same thing I'm saying. But if you wanted to add more deets, feel free. Still 62 people on board. So I guess the people who love it, love it. The people who don't, bye, Felicia. I was going to say, when talking about like hotels have some of the best food, don't get me wrong. I like to eat at local cuisine restaurants while out on vacation. So I don't do it all the time. I kind of split it half and half. Like this next trip I've got coming up, I'm going to do an IHG hotel first night. Next 2 nights are going to be probably an Airbnb or something like that. More details on that to come. And obviously then I will have to eat at a restaurant or get groceries, one of the two. Last night I'm definitely going to eat in the hotel, if that is an option. Now that can be something in your like triangulation of laundry with the Staybridge Suites versus the Crown Plaza. The Crown Plaza has a restaurant inside. Staybridge Suites did not. They just have like snacks and a bar. Kirby said, I had free breakfast with the hotel booking, reimbursed dinner from the company. Oh, okay. Yeah. Free things do taste better. If you have a Drury Inn as an option where you live, they serve a huge breakfast, a light dinner, and popcorn and soda most of the day. Is the light dinner included with your fare? I think it is. I've run across a Drury Inn here and there, but it doesn't come up a lot. That could be a good trick with your Aeroplan pay yourself back too. Tucking that away. Thank you, Dad on a Mission. Let's see what's next. Yes. Number 7, the Aeroplan card. Pay yourself back as much as possible. You had to know it was coming. So the trick. Aeroplan, pay yourself back. You get the equivalent of 1.625 cents per point using those Chase points. If you wait until there's a 20% transfer bonus from Chase to Aeroplan. I've talked about that lots before. Find my standalone video on why I like pay yourself back if you're not sure what that means. I've talked about it 100 times, but let's look at some examples. So it's like a travel eraser where you get an extra modifier. It's 1.25 cents per point on the Aeroplan side. I get 1.625 by factoring in some transfer bonuses. Let's just look at examples. This should make it obvious just by taking the theory of a picture's worth 1,000 words. Asthma break. Here's a car I rented in England, and I used it to drive around Wales mostly. I would not use the Aeroplan card for car rentals within your home country, which is probably the United States for most of you. Calling Sam, not sure if you're on board. But outside your home country, it's primary rental car coverage. So I've used Aeroplan, pay myself back on a rental car. Hey, there's the exact same picture of the fish and chips at the Springfield Doubletree. I used, between 2 meals, I spent a total of, I think, $62.50, and I had a Hilton gift card. So success story, I was able to use the Hilton gift card for all of the first meal and then some of the second meal, and the $12.50 carried over, and I charged that portion to my room. Well, that part I paid myself back with. At least that's the way I'm remembering it. I might be wrong, and if I am, sue me. You can use it on Uber and Lyft, and I use that bigly out in Washington, D.C. And then this is a picture of the electric cart tour we did in Washington, D.C. And I swear I own more than 3 shirts, but I do like to wear the same ones on vacation. This was through Viator, and it was like close to $400, I think $360 or something like that. Totally worth it. You spent like 4 hours driving around the city looking at monuments, getting to park up close, that kind of thing. But Viator coded as travel, so I was able to, boom, pay myself back on that. Let's look at some more stuff. We have the Hoover Dam coded as travel. The Hoover Dam parking lot coded as travel. Both of those, boom, paid myself back. In London, both the underground and the overground subway trains, public transit, this is the overground. Yes, they call it the overground. Boom, coded as travel, paid myself back. This is a random parking lot in the town of Hereford on the western side of England. And I didn't get a great picture, but you can see there's parking on the left, parking on the right. The right lot was a public lot where there was like one of those machines you walk up to, type in your parking spot and pay. Coded as travel, boom, paid myself back. And interestingly, last night when I was getting ready to do this video, I was looking for examples of parking lots. There was a different parking lot in the United Kingdom. It was in a little town in Wales called Merthyr Tydfil that I don't know what it was in pounds, but it translated to like 89 cents in US currency. So I was able to pay myself back, boom, 89 cents on that parking lot. And this was in Sweden. The Saint Erik is a boat. We took a boat tour out into the ocean, saw the archipelago, and that was awesome. Boom, paid myself back. Happy Tom says, yeah, I was just emphasizing the importance of your advice about laundry. Specifically, if I only have room for 4 sets of clothes, then I schedule laundry for days 4, 8, 12 and book accordingly. Yeah, we're on the same page. We've done this. Kirby says, at Dad, and everyone was freshly post-grad, so 22 to 25-year-olds getting drunk every day for a week. That's a way to do it. I think I did miss something here. I'm sorry. Let me come back. Vincent Pascal says, Hilton Gold Staffs will get you a credit towards breakfast or the snack bar at a Hilton Garden Inn. That's another reason to maybe eat at the restaurant. Here's the comment I think that was responding to. Kirby said, I had a work training in Cleveland, and there were 30 of us in a brewery, and we all got 2 free alcoholic beverages. Was the best and worst times. Dowdamish says, I could see how that could be true. And he responded, everyone was freshly post-grad, so 22 to 25-year-olds getting drunk every day for a week. Pros and cons. Let's see. Nicholas Elia is here, says, are you planning to use your One Key Plus card on these trips? Not the one I have scheduled for April, but I want to keep an open mind, and I'll come to a tip in just a little bit that will tie right into that. Source King is here. How you doing? Points out that I did, in fact, use pay yourself back on the dam parking lot. So that is a true statement. Number 8, eat at a lounge if possible and shower. So the top picture is me in the LGA Sapphire Lounge, LaGuardia. This is a burger I had in the same lounge. It was good, but it was cold. It was like they didn't bring it out freshly. And then the bottom right picture is me taking a shower in an airport lounge. I'm not sure which one. Although now that I think about it, last night when I was loading this up, the description was in French. So it was almost certainly at the Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport Delta Lounge. Or maybe it was Air France. I flew on Delta, but I think it was the Air France Lounge because I booked it through Air France. And Delta and them are friends. I digress. The trick. I love free food. Think of the voice of Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars saying, I love democracy. I love free food. I like showering while traveling. Speaking of like laundry and those kind of things, rushing through airports, like, you know, when you're on a plane, like it starts out super hot and you get up in the air and it gets super cold. And then you're like freezing and then you land. And especially if it's the kind where you have to go down a flight of stairs and walk out on the tarmac, then you start sweating. So taking a shower halfway through your journey is kind of nice. And living in Des Moines, Iowa, I almost always have a layover. So when I go to Albany, for example, I'll have a layover on the way out in LaGuardia, but it's such a tight layover. It's like 52 minutes. I won't have time to hit up the lounge. But on the way back, I think I will. Plus, free stuff tastes and feels better. I don't know why that is, but free food tastes better than food you pay for. Free showers are better than the shower in your own house. So that's all I got to say about that. I think that one pretty well explains itself. Sorry I left the print so small. Quality Control Man says, R.I.P. George Foreman. I hadn't heard that George Foreman passed away. That must be pretty recent. R.I.P. indeed. I liked the George Foreman grill. I liked watching him as a boxer. I remember when he was like 46 years old or 47, which is like roughly the age I am now, and knocked out Michael Moore, who was like 23. That was pretty awesome. Kirby G said, I had my first lounge experience back in November at the Palazza Premium Lounge in Rome. I ate so much breakfast, we skipped lunch. That's how you do it. Big breakfast, skip lunch. Been team credit card ever since. Quality Control Man says, looks like you were sitting in the shower with your rubber ducky. I was just trying to look happy. And Ian says, anyone have experience with Experian disputes? How long do they normally take? I don't. I apologize. 66 people on board. Let's keep her going here. 2 more tricks to go and then the bonus. Number 9, consider non-traditional lodging. So Nicholas asked about using my rewards, what's it called? The ExpediaHotels.com card, the 1 key card. That fits into this category. This is a picture of me at a tiny house in West Virginia, booked through Airbnb. It was called the Koru Mountain Lodge. It was in a town, but the town's kind of on the side of a mountain. Not a giant mountain, but a West Virginia-sized mountain. I really liked that. The trick, make room for things like, or at least consider things like Airbnb. It codes as travel, at least with Chase, it codes as travel. Because I just booked one recently. I had enough gift card to pay for most of it and a little bit spilled over onto my Sapphire Reserve. Got 3x on travel. So I would think with about 99% certainty you could pay yourself back with Aeroplan by using Airbnb. US Bank, I said no. Not that it doesn't necessarily code as travel, I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, there's lots of data points. Airbnb does not trigger real-time rewards on the USB AR. So just a fair warning there. If anybody else has data points on other issuers like Wells Fargo or Citi, I don't think Capital One has a 3x on travel card. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you have any data points for Citi or Built or Wells Fargo, do they code Airbnb as travel? Let me know. Also, make room for things like Vacasa or cottages.com. So I'll get to that in just a moment, but Vacasa is the vacation rental company similar to Vrbo that you can use your credits on your Wyndham points to book at a good ratio. Cottages.com, same thing, it's just in the United Kingdom. We don't talk about Vrbo, no. We don't talk about Vrbo. Maybe even hotels.com. So yes, I am open to using hotels.com, Expedia with my 1 key card, Nicholas. And I've got like $500 or $600, $700, $800, I'm not sure, of credit with them right now. Their card actually earns okay. It's just you can't get any outsized value, but sometimes you can book things through them and, you know, it may be just the right thing. Even if it doesn't get you the exact best deal with points, you can still pay for it with points, or you can pay for it with cash back that you've been saving up or something along those lines. Yuri G says Airbnb codes as travel agency with which issuer? Chad answered the question that Ian had about disputing with Experian. I'll not read that out loud, but you can read it if you want to. Ron Burns says Vrbo does work on Aeroplan. Pay yourself back. Excellent. I thought it probably did. Yuri says the Citi Airbnb gives 5x on the Prestige, so I think we can reasonably conclude it would give 3x on the Premier, Strata Premier as well. And Yuri says with Wells Fargo, it's 3x on the autograph journey. Excellent. Okay, so we do have confirmation. That would be general travel. It isn't coding as a hotel and getting you 5x, unfortunately, but 3 is still a lot better than 2. Kirby says outside value doesn't mean much if you can't take the trip experience you want. That's a great point. And that actually leads me into the next screen, I believe. Thank you, Kirby. So to be more specific, here is that Mountain Koru tiny home. When I went to West Virginia and saw Blackwater Falls, which is a waterfall, it's the largest waterfall in West Virginia. Great waterfall. It has all the intangibles, the size, the shape, the flow is all right. I really like waterfalls. Here's a picture right here of a waterfall on my desk calendar. If you ever wondered at the start of the program when I look down, I say, today is Saturday, March 22nd. That's the calendar I'm looking at to make sure I say the right date. Anyway, that waterfall was like an hour and a half to the nearest town that had any hotels at all. So I could drive an hour and a half, 3 hours round trip and stay at a hotel, or I could stay at this Airbnb, which was like 10 to 15 minutes away. I chose the Airbnb because it was where I wanted to go. I really liked this place. That was the favorite place I stayed on this trip. It was just cozy, perfect for one guy all by himself. You actually park in the back, which is here, then walk down this sidewalk around to the front, come in this way. It kind of looks out over that town that's on a cliff. Here's what the living room looks like on the inside. There is a full-size bed in the back, but if you had kids with you, you could make them climb up into the loft, and there's 2 twin beds, I think, up there. That is a steep loft ladder or staircase, whatever you call it. They had laundry there, too, at that Airbnb. This is a Vacasa that my 2 boys and I stayed at in the fall of 23 in central Wisconsin. It was a log home, very cozy. Sometimes you're just in the mood for cozy. You can tell it was an overcast day. Cozy felt just right. This is the beautiful, most serene place I've ever been in my entire life. The Lundy Lodge, which was booked through cottages.com using Wyndham points. 13,500 points per bedroom per night, 2 bedrooms, so it didn't cost too much. This is a panoramic view. It's not actually curved. You can look out the window here with the couch. There's these fold open doors. The weather was perfect. See the rolling hills of Wales. That's the view off the patio. Oh man, I want to go back so badly. Well, I am going back, not to this particular lodge. Unfortunately, it's not listed on cottages.com for whatever reason, but a different one. This summer, they had a hot tub, which who doesn't like hot tubs? This is the Blue Wave Inn in Ashland, Wisconsin, right at the tippity top of Wisconsin. It looks out over Lake Superior, close to where we did the Apostle Islands boat tour. Very non-traditional lodging, and this was booked through Capital One's portal using that $300 annual portal credit. They were on there. It kind of looks like Noah's Ark from the back. Our room was the top left room. There's 5 or 6 rooms. They're all on the top floor. The first floor is like a store and a restaurant. The second floor is like meeting rooms that people can rent out. All the lodgings on the top floor. Kind of a rustic North Woods feel. And hey, look at that sunset. That was kind of facing not perfectly west, not perfectly north, kind of northwest. Just right. Loved it so much. Does Chase have the broadest travel category of all the issuers? In my experience, yes. And I still don't understand why some issuers code things one way and some don't. I've used the example before that the Hy-Vee gas station around here called Fast and Fresh, if you're paying with Chase or Citi or Barclays, it codes as gas. But if you're paying with US Bank or Amex, it codes as like general services. It doesn't matter whether it's inside or outside. So for whatever reason, to answer QC Man's question, they counted timeshare loan principal only payments as pay yourself back on Aeroplan. I don't remember that question being asked. But yeah, I'll take your word for it. I do know Chad slaughtered Aeroplan last year before they put a cap on it and made, you said the amount once on a live stream, so I know you're not ashamed of it, tens of thousands of dollars worth of payments at functionally 1.625 cents per point. I mean, imagine paying your mortgage at 1.625 cents per point, kind of. that Aeroplan card is super useful. Not as useful for Chad now that there's a cap, but for me, it's still pretty useful. Let's keep going here. Did I have any other examples? I don't remember. Or are we on to the 10th point? We're on to the 10th point, and that is use those free night certificates as needed. The trick, use them before they expire. The only one that I have that is a for sure that I get every year, no matter what, is on my IHG card. This is a picture of the personal card, but I have the business card. They're the same. Just have the card, pay the $99 annual fee, and you get a free night certificate every year after your first anniversary. Or I should say on your first anniversary. If you have a player too, try to get them at the same time to kind of line them up. That's helpful. My wife had the personal one. I still have the business one. She canceled the personal one, but she waited during that 30-day grace period. She waited. Let's face it, I waited until it landed her IHG account and then canceled. So in 2 years, we got 2 free night certificates. You don't get one in the first year. Paid the annual fee for the second year, got one. Paid the annual fee for the second year, got one. Got it reimbursed. So I only had to pay for one and got 2. So that's the trick I use. That's why I've got 2 to burn, one in my name, one in my wife's name. The other thing I was going to say is don't be ashamed to use them, even for low-ish value. I know I kind of gave Uncle Luke a heart attack when I said I was considering using a free night certificate for a stay that was only like $250. I figure, as long as you're using them for more than $99, you're getting positive value. And let me use an example. I stayed at a place in Illinois to visit my sister a little over a year ago, and it was getting close to expiring, and I used it for a room that was pretty cheap. It was only like $150. But you know what using a free night certificate at a $150 hotel is better than? Not using it all and letting it expire. So don't be ashamed to use them, even for lowish value. It's kind of a love-hate thing with free night certificates. Like, when I use them, I'm like, yeah, especially use them to like good or at least decent value. But then it's like, I have to somehow factor this in. Like this trip that I'm taking in April, that's the only time anyone in my family is traveling that we know of, barring a funeral or emergency or something like that. Between now and when they expire in May. So it's like, well, I gotta use them, so it's kind of a love-hate. I don't like how it ties you down. That's why we dropped from 2 down to just 1. I've only got to keep track of 1 a year. I'm sure I can get good use out of that 1. I'll give you some examples here in just a few seconds. Where were we? Chad confirmed with the Aeroplan card. He did about $10,000 to pay himself back in 24, another $2K in 25. So that's $12,000. I was right when I said tens of thousands, barely. Ron says Amex counts gas stations attached to a grocery store as general purchase. It has to be in the primary business of selling gas. I still just find it weird that Chase, Barclays, and Citi don't care, though. Ian says, you don't have a channel, do you, Chad? 2 weeks in a row, I've looked. To get extra points, yeah. Chad says his channel is called DVC Points. It's all about Disney Vacation Club, not points and miles. I'm going to do a Miles to the Mouse channel. Oh, that'll be interesting. Yeah, so Chad Pennycuff is to Clark Kent as Superman is to DVC Points. So Chad Pennycuff is his normal civilian alter ego, but DVC Points is his channel. Ian says, I get 4X on the Amex Business Gold inside the Speedway Mart, but not at the 7-Eleven at the BP. What's BP stand for? But like British Petroleum type BP? That's weird. So like individual stores matter, apparently. Chad also clarifies, many timeshare haters don't understand the epic value DVC is for Disney fans, so I use this profile for commenting. Oh, okay. Kind of makes sense. I have come to learn through your influence that the world of timeshares in general and Disney timeshares, while there is some overlap, are very separate animals, and they should not all be lumped in together. Filmo says, I got the Marriott Biz with 5 free night certs, and due to many cancellations, I will be booking a staycation with the last night. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. That's why it's kind of a love-hate relationship. I think with the Marriott card, I would actually rather just have the points because I would be afraid of the exact same thing. I would end up using it at like a Fairfield Inn and Suites that's like $72 a night because I'm about to run out or something like that. Let's move on here. It's not time for the next trick, the bonus trick yet. I've got some examples. Here is a free night certificate, the aforementioned one that I said was my wife's and was going to expire. I used this in early January of 2024, sort of a New Year's trip to visit my sister's family. And this was at a Holiday Inn, not a Holiday Inn Express. The weird thing is, like, I had 3 hotels in a row that didn't come with free breakfast. And the platinum status that comes to IHG cards doesn't guarantee free breakfast, but in all 3 cases, they gave me the option of free breakfast as my welcome amenity. So you can see in the top right-hand corner, I got 4 breakfast coupons, even though there's only 3 of us. I was going to just give one to a stranger if somebody had walked by. They had a hot tub, which was very nice. And then I got this free upgrade to like a room that had like a separate sitting area, king-size bed. There's a big old bathroom around the corner, and then it connected to a room with just 2 queen beds for my boys. My best use of a free night certificate thus far was at this place. This is in Charlottesville, Virginia. On the campus of the University of Virginia Law Center is a Kimpton. It's called the Kimpton at the Forum. It's very like presidential and like colonial looking. My room was right here. In fact, I have this like exercise wheel thing that you can maybe just barely see. It was literally underneath the presidential suite, but I don't think it was used. Very lovely. They have these like lights and things, very posh, finger in the air. The IHG free night cert is like, I think maxes out at 40,000, although you can top it up. And this was like 37 or 39,000. So I just barely came in with the free night cert. And they had free robes. So I took a very blurry picture of myself in the mirror wearing my free robe. So that was my best use of a free night certificate. My worst kind of sort of use of a free night certificate was booking just a plain old Hampton Inn for my sister with one that my dad had earned when she was coming to help out. But again, it was a scenario where it was going to expire. At least we used it on a family member, et cetera, et cetera. At least we used it. You know what I mean? Where was I? Chad says, oh, he already answered that question. Filmo, those are 50K certs, right? That's a nice little staycation with your wife. And he says, yep, 50K certs. I used 4 for a pretty awesome value. So I'm not mad. As long as you're not mad, that's the important part. Who's got the suite in PR for the meetup? Puerto Rico. I don't know. It's probably Cesar. That'd be my guess. What's on the next screen? I don't remember. It's time for the bonus. So I said 10 tips and tricks, and then I said and a bonus. Here's the bonus. Fly home on Tuesday. Now I'm talking about the actual weekend getaways, to be specific. The trick. So for a long weekend, leave either Friday after work or very early Saturday. May not work for everyone, but this works really well for me. So like when I go to Albany, I'm going to be leaving at like 5:30 in the afternoon, something like that. So I can still get in a full work day. Don't have to take PTO or count it as one of my unlimited days off that is capped at 4 to 6 weeks. Or very early on a Saturday. When I say very early on a Saturday, Southwest has a flight that leaves at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, heads to St. Louis. And the nice thing about that is you can get there by noon and you still have most of the day on Saturday to count as a day of doing things. So you have Saturday all day, Sunday all day, Monday all day, and then try to get your flight second half of the day on Tuesday, a half day. So you get 3.5 days to do stuff. Why do I say come home on Tuesday? Well, there's a couple reasons. One is it's usually cheaper than Monday and more peaceful. What do I mean by more peaceful? Now, it depends, because if you get a hotel on your last day that caters to like business people, you might have a whole bunch of them flying in on Monday. So like Monday afternoon, evening, the restaurant's kind of being taken over, or the hotel's being taken over. But if you're staying more like at Holiday Inn Expresses or more restaurants that cater to tourists, usually there's not a whole lot going on a Monday afternoon. Tuesday at breakfast, it'll probably be like you and 3 other people. So it's actually, in my experience, it's usually very peaceful. Now, there are some exceptions, like Washington, D.C., our first hotel that we stayed at last summer was a Intercontinental IHG hotel, and there was some group there for some sort of corporate event. Actually, it was a group that sold commercial dishwashers. And in the rooftop pool, a couple of those guys got drunk. So it's not always peaceful, but the Holiday Inn Express in Foley, Alabama was perfectly peaceful. The Kimpton at the University of Virginia was pretty peaceful. And again, I kind of mentioned this, 3.5 days of fun, but you only have to take 2 days off work. You just take Monday and Tuesday off. I did last October when I went to Springfield, Illinois, I did a work from anywhere. And on Monday, I logged in and was going to get a full day of work in from my hotel room and then just do things in the evening. I'll be honest with you guys, I did not care for that. That kind of stunk. So if I run out of days off work, I'll do it. But I don't like the idea of trying to work while on vacation. Have any of you found a successful way of doing that and making it not stink? So here's a little more specific. So this is I don't even know which trip this was, a picture of a Delta plane. Here's Google Flights over here. Although, did you notice they renamed it Google Travel, not Google Flights? Whatever. If you Google it, it'll show up. In April, I think I just typed in like Pensacola, Florida to Des Moines. I'm not going to Pensacola, but that's a trip I've taken in the past. These are one-way flights. You see like this Sunday, Monday, Tuesday pair is all the same price. This pair, Sunday's more expensive. Monday and Tuesday are cheaper. But here, Tuesday is cheaper than Sunday by a lot and way cheaper than Monday. And who wants to fly home on Sunday? You cut out almost an entire day of fun. Same thing here. Tuesday's way cheaper. So I don't know if it's just a Des Moines thing or because I live in a small market airport. Maybe if you lived in like Denver or Dallas or New York City, it would be different. But at least in my experience, put a comment down below if you're watching after the fact. Let me know if you find like Tuesday flights to be less expensive. So that usually works out. And even though I'm often paying with points, things like saver availability is way more likely to be available when it's cheap. And then if I'm using a portal or pay myself back or something like that, or credits that I have, of course you want to be as cheap as possible. Okay. Whoop. QCMA says the hotel was actually in the law school or just very near it. It was on the campus. I'm not sure how to describe it. I'm pretty sure it's on the property of the university. I think the university owns the property, and IHG made some sort of like 25-year agreement to build a hotel there and operate it. Something along those lines. It's really great. I would recommend it. If you're at the University of Virginia, stay there. Use your free night certificate if you can. Now, that was the last 2 days of my trip. The first night of my trip when I came in, I stayed at a Country Inn and Suites using choice points, and the points were low, but the cash rate was like $562 for a Country Inn. I'm like, what in the world? There was a girls' softball tournament there that ended like that day or maybe the day before, something like that. So those university towns, you can have a huge variance. One day it'll be like $500 and it would probably be like 80,000 IHG points. The next day it can be like $175 or 37,000 IHG points. Ian, Philmo says to Ian, the first one to show up with the best schmoozing ability. Oh, that's who gets the suite in Puerto Rico. QCML says dishwasher salesmen are the wildest. I only have one data point, but they were pretty wild. Chad says, you're pricing things around Easter and spring break in Florida too. That's true. But I was just using that as an example. That's how it almost always looks. I mean, probably 80 to 90% of the time flying back to Des Moines, Tuesday is at least 30% cheaper than Monday. Chad says, Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes Thursday or Saturday are the cheapest days to fly. Business travelers go on Sunday and Monday and Thursday, Friday. Leisure travelers go home on Sundays. Yeah, and I knew about that. The business travelers are all, they come into the office on Monday morning. They want to fly out between like 10 and 3 on Monday. So those flights are always super expensive. Good points. Thank you. And then I was slightly dishonest with you, everyone. I actually have 2 bonuses. And bonus number 2 is free or cheap activities. The trick. Free things are free, and I like free. May your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. The way to keep your points and the way to be frugal is do free stuff or very cheap stuff. When it's free, you don't have to pay for it. Thank you, Ralph. Do any of you know what I'm referencing there? There's an episode of The Simpsons, one of the really old ones, where the kids of Springfield are used as like a test group or a pilot group for a toy called Funzo. And they ask the kids, what are some things you like about toys? And some kids say some various examples. And Ralph says, fun toys are fun. And the leader says, well said, Ralph. So you can quote me on this. Free things are free. The picture on the right here is Lake of the Clouds in the UP of Michigan. And when we went there a couple years ago, 100% free. Didn't have to pay to get in, didn't have to pay to hike the trails. You just went and looked, and it was very beautiful. Here's another free activity. This is the aforementioned Blackwater Falls in central/eastern West Virginia. Totally free. Didn't have to pay a thing. And that was my favorite thing on that entire RIP trip, where I went to Charlottesville and some of West Virginia. There's me looking like a dork posing with it. One nice thing was that this was in April, so you have the snow melt starting, so it was really full and really rushing. Again, it was just perfect. There's another picture of the same waterfall just from a different angle the next morning. So I saw it in the evening on the north bank, stayed in the tiny house Airbnb, woke up the next morning, went to the south bank where they had a different viewing platform, and that was great. Here's Seneca Rock State Park on my way there, same trip. That was also free. Go look at the rocks. Very peaceful, very beautiful. I don't have a picture of it, but there was like the north fork of the south branch of the Potomac River. Something ran through here about 30 yards wide. And again, the snow melt, just the trickling. It was like, it was like I was a character from Little House on the Prairie or something like that. I took 2 RIP trips early on when I was sort of just dipping my toes in the water to the area around St. Louis, Missouri. I didn't actually go into St. Louis. St. Charles is just on the north bank of the Missouri River, just across from the Lambert Airport in St. Louis. And this was like, I think this was 2019 and this is 2020, I believe. Still have the same zip-up vest that I wear, but this is like an old town with brick roads. The first capital of Missouri is there. It was their first territorial capital, and I think it served as their state capital for like the first 3 or 4 years. Old, cool historical buildings like this church. This is the second time I went. This is Daniel Boone's home, the home where he died. And there's a little village with old historic houses. You can pay for a tour, but if you just go and walk around, it's totally free. So again, all of these things were free. I got a personalized tour because I was the only person of the first capital of Missouri. 3 interesting things about this. First of all, 230 is my favorite number because in college I lived in dorm number 230. Secondly is look how there's not any gray in my beard. This was only 4 or 5 years ago. I used to have totally dark hair. Now it's like I use a touch of gray from Just for Men, but I don't. And then thirdly, if you're ever wondering where my profile picture from Facebook came from, it was from this exact trip. I was walking down this very street wearing this exact outfit, had my old glasses, which are more elongated, not quite as tall, square, took a picture, and I've just never bothered to change it. And as I talked about Filma, once you have an avatar, you can't change it. Here's some more free activities. This is at a place in Alabama called Mullet Point Park. So you know how Alabama has the sticky downy part near Mobile, and even the sticky downy part's kind of like divided into a bay. On the east side of the bay, facing west, is this state park. Possibly the best sunset I've ever seen. Definitely the best sunset I've ever seen in the state of Alabama. There was some random guy playing disc golf called Bear Bite Disc Golf. He has a YouTube channel who volunteered to take my picture. That's it on the right. Those were free. You didn't have to pay to go to the Mullet Point Park. This was at a place in that same area. It's like one of the barrier islands around either Mobile or Pensacola. I don't remember which one. I think the one closer to Mobile, called Fort Morgan. Yes, you go to Gulf Shores and then drive out in this long peninsula past not one, but 2 Dollar Generals. And you can walk around the fort for free. It's a Civil War era fort. I should say it was built before the Civil War, but used during the Civil War. I can't remember if it was in Union hands or Confederate hands. I think it was in Confederate hands throughout the war. Don't quote me on that. The one over in Pensacola fell into Union hands. But you go inside the underground part of the fort. This is one of the entrances, although there's multiple. I also sat up on this wall for a while, just listened to the birds chirping. That was great. It looks like this in the top left. It looks like, I'm going to sing a song. You tell me if you know what the song is from. Do, 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 do. It looks like that. Think 80s, 90s childhood games. And this is at Abraham Lincoln's home in Springfield, Illinois. The first time I went, the first time I saw his home, the second time I saw his grave. Going to Lincoln's house and taking the tour. Here's a tour guide. That was free. Didn't cost anything. This is the Great Western Railroad Depot. Sometimes it's called the Lincoln Depot because when Lincoln got elected to be president, when he left his hometown for the last time, I think it was the last time, he took off from this station. It's a law office, but they have preserved a couple rooms on the inside the way it was back in the 1800s. You can just go in and look around. It's free. This is from New Orleans. Well, not New Orleans. This is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But when I was there for the Creator Meetup last fall, I went to the state capitol. This is the capital of Louisiana. Went up in it, didn't pay a thing. There was an interesting fella I met up there, and he was willing to take my picture. Totally free. Didn't have to pay for it. And then also around Springfield, Illinois, we have the Springfield State Capitol. Free. The trees in that area were just on fire, and I love fall foliage so much. So that was free. Looking at the trees around the Capitol was free. The cemetery where Lincoln was buried had all these cool trees and graves and monuments. All of that was free. I went to a park where there was a carillon concert, which is like a tall bell tower thing. Free. Visiting presidential graves. I know it's a unique hobby. Most are free, not all. Like if you want to visit Thomas Jefferson's grave, you have to pay for entrance to Monticello. If you want to see George Washington's grave, you have to pay to enter Mount Vernon. I think I had to pay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had to pay like $20 a person or $12 a person or something like that. Don't quote me on that because they're private organizations. They're not government run. But pretty much all the other ones I've seen are free. On the left, we have Abraham Lincoln in Springfield. That's just in a cemetery. It's free. The middle is William Henry Harrison, which is just on a random hillside in southwestern Ohio. Totally free. The far right, that's William Howard Taft's grave, which is in Arlington National Cemetery. The cemetery itself is free. So, yeah, checking out historical monuments, you can hopefully now see why every single one of these examples was mostly outdoors, why I say I try to skip lunch and just rush through things. I guess the inside of Lincoln's home would have been indoors, and some of the Louisiana State Capitol is indoors. All of the Illinois Capitol is indoors. The president graves are outdoors, but I like free and I like outdoors. Another thing I will mention, this is sort of a bonus tip that's not even in the presentation. If you can, and I realize it may not be possible, traveling in like late spring, like the second half of April, is just great because like the bugs haven't come to life yet, depending on where you're going. I'm sure if you went to Ecuador, they probably would be. But in the continental United States, for the most part, the weather's pretty temperate. You can dress like I'm dressing here. In fact, the middle picture is from March. It was just a particularly nice day. This picture on the left is from fall. So if you can go like in October, maybe like a week or two before Thanksgiving, you're getting the leaves. And again, the weather's perfect. Maybe just a light zip up vest, long sleeve shirt, something like that. That's why I really like taking my solo trips in April and October, if you're wondering. All right, let's see how far I've got to here. Clairvoyant has arrived, says, good morning. Hope everyone's having a nice weekend. I hope you are too. Thank you, Clairvoyant. I appreciate it. That's the only comment during the benefit of free part. Last free activity here is when I was in West Virginia, I went into a game store, and by game I mean like board games and stuff. That town that had the Koru Mountain Lodge tiny home was like a very quirky, artsy kind of town. They have a lot of like music festivals and art festivals, something like that. I think it's called Thomas, West Virginia. Don't quote me on that. And in that town, or maybe it was the town right next to it, there was two twin towns. I can't remember which one's which. Somebody turned an old bank with like this 2-foot thick vault wall into a board game store, and you can actually, I think for like $1 an hour, rent out the vault and play games in there. But there was a doggo who lives in the store, and I just thought this series of pictures was funny. Like, am I allowed to pet you? And the dog's looking at me like, is this okay? And then the picture on the right is like reluctant acceptance. Okay, I guess you can pet me. But after that, the dog was totally fine and was happy with me petting the dog. Petting dogs, free activity. Don't have to pay anything at all, generally. And that's it. That's the end of the theme of the day. Thank you so much for listening in. James says, "What's up?" and has arrived. So perfect timing, James. We are now going to transition into the community section of our time, where I read from the community tab post and answer your questions. We're exactly at the 2-hour mark, so I got to get a move on here. But you know what comes before that, don't you? Yes, it's the biology break, also known as intermission, also known as bathroom break. And one time somebody suggested playing a record, so I'm going to try that. But first, a note about copyrights and stuff. Last week, I used at the end of my main event a 40 or so second clip of The Simpsons with the very tall man who says, "No, march," and makes Nelson like walk down the street. And I said, "This is all of us," pointing and laughing at US Bank. I got dinged for a copyright with YouTube. Not a copyright strike, but they demonetized the video, and I couldn't make money off of it. Now, fortunately, they still let me keep my super chats, but like the viewership money I couldn't make until I took it out. So I had options. One is just let it stand. Two was like try to like turn off the audio or just clip it out. So if you watched it after the fact and you're wondering why it seemed like I was about to show a Simpsons clip and it didn't, it's because I told him to remove it. But it takes like 8 hours. So like the first 8 to 10 hours after the video was done going live, I didn't make any money from people watching it. So I lost about a third of my viewership income, which isn't like a huge deal, but I am like hypersensitive to copyrights. So I'm not going to play Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass because I guarantee that'll lead to a copyright issue. But how about this one? This is a record called Jerry Volker and the Jolly Gents' Mother and Dad's Favorite. And this record was copyrighted in 1972. It literally says this, recorded on August 22nd, 1972 at Ray and Sherry Whips. So I'm assuming they recorded literally at someone's house. At the Goalpost Inn, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Okay, maybe Ray and Sherry own the Goalpost Inn. Hey, that fits in with travel and all our tips. I wonder if somebody Google search tell me if the Goalpost Inn, just like it sounds, Green Bay, Wisconsin still exists. And this was recorded by KL Recording, Hubertus, Wisconsin. I think this was kind of a regional thing, so I don't think it's going to lead to a copyright, although I did search for them on YouTube. There were some live performances of this group and other songs, but not this particular record. So I am going to play it for you now. And I don't know how much it'll pick up because I only have the one microphone, but let's give it a shot. Stay tuned. It'll be about 90 seconds to 2 minutes here. And just watch the ad if you get one. That helps out my channel, and I'll be back. Please don't go anywhere. All right, let me know if you could hear that and what you thought of it. Another free activity is I like collecting old records, and I have very specific tastes. So used records are where it's at. And I even sometimes I'll find something like that that's just like a local favorite. I don't even know where I got that. It might have been a gift from my wife's grandma, actually. And I'll take a flyer on it. About 2 out of 3 don't pan out, but when you're buying them like at a secondhand shop for $1, it's not that big a deal. But every once in a while, you get a really great one. Obviously, buying the record for $1 each costs money, but the shopping part is free. Doesn't work if you're flying, but like when I drove to Wisconsin in that cabin, that would have been a time to do one. I don't remember if I did. When I went to Alton, Illinois, and stayed there, and then drove on to Ziegler, Illinois for the solar eclipse last April, I did it then. QC Man is celebrating the fact that he's been a member for 12 months. I don't remember if you were on board. We gave you props early in the video because it was your 12th anniversary. But hey, I like having the thingamajig. And says, cute doggy. I agree. Mertz Collectibles says, I disagree. Always trying to eat at hotels and lounges. Local restaurants are one of the best things about traveling. More expensive, but worth it. Take in the culture that way. Maybe you missed the part earlier. I don't know. I like a mix of the two. So I love a good pork chop. So I'll go find a good pork chop restaurant, maybe a Mexican restaurant. So I do like local things. I ate at this place in Alton, Illinois called Johnson's Corner that had an amazing tenderloin. So there's going to be a balance. Like on my next trip, I'll probably eat at the hotel on the last night, but the other times I'll probably have to eat at a local restaurant. Filmo could hear the Green Bay polka just fine. Did we determine if the goalpost inn is still in existence or not? I'll do it. There's a goalpost bar and grill. Right there. It's not called an inn. I bet that's it, though. Do you want to bet that's where that record was recorded? Right there on Manitowoc Road in Bellevue, Wisconsin. Oh, that's Bellevue. That's not Green Bay. So I don't know. Who knows? Anybody from that part of Wisconsin can confirm or not? Let me know. All right. By the way, Mertz Collectibles, I think we've met before, but don't quote me on that. I'm really happy to see you on board this morning. 50 people have stuck with me here that are the kind of people who, make stuff happen. I need to find my community tab and pull that up here. Give me just a second, and I will do that. I see the long comment from Mojo, so it looks like it has showed up. And, I got to share the tab. There we go. So that's the picture. You're supposed to guess where that picture was taken. That's literally one of the oldest pictures on my phone. Kirby sees that I just got back in, but I heard Wisconsin. I'm originally from Fond du Lac. So we're trying to verify if there's a restaurant or hotel in Green Bay called the Goalpost Inn, because back in the early 70s or whenever that record was recorded, that's where it was recorded at. Okay. So you're supposed to guess where that picture was taken. Let's see who has posted here. Someone anonymous said, looks like quite an adventure. Ron Burns said, that looks like a nauseous dad on teacups with their little kids. Yep, that's me. I said, good, but I'm looking for just a little more detail than that. Okay. Johnny Appleman asked this: can you buy Visa gift cards with Chase Business from Staples for bonus spend? Also, taxes okay? So we got two parts to the question there. The first part is, can you buy prepaid Visa gift cards with the Chase Business card? Yes, and you're thinking of the Chase Inc. Business Cash, which gives 5x on office supply stores. The answer is yes, 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 you can do it. Now, if you're doing it during your sign-up bonus, use a little bit of caution. Do your own research. I'm just some guy on the internet. I am not a financial advisor. So I would do it for like up to half of your spend. Once you're past the sign-up bonus, I do it all the time. So yeah, you can definitely do it and get 5x. The second question is, are taxes okay? I'm assuming what you mean is if you take that ink gift card, the gift card you bought using your ink card, and use that to pay taxes. That one I have no idea. I've never tried it. I would imagine it would work, but don't quote me on that. Kirby says, I've eaten at the Goalpost Bar and Grill in Green Bay, but have not heard of a hotel. Well, like there's a restaurant called Village Inn that's not literally an inn. I wonder if it's called the Goalpost Inn, or was at least back in the 70s. And it's actually a restaurant. Maybe that's it. I think we solved the mystery, Kirby. Good job. AZ Fox says, do you think it's... AZ Fox is the same as Mojo, by the way. Do you think it's worth closing cards that are less than 3 years old that the institution refuses to give a credit limit increase on? Thoughts on going where you're celebrated and not just tolerated? Low limit would be limits below 3,000 for this description, sir. Yeah, I do think it's worth it. I don't have any problem with closing cards. I've closed cards before that are not that old because, my oldest credit card is 25 years old. I've got a couple that are like 15 to 17 years old. So it might actually raise my average credit age if I close a card that's only 2 years old. So yeah, I have no problem with doing that whatsoever. If there's not a product change that you're interested in that would be helpful for you, go for it. I have done it and do it. Gerald Ives said, hey, Doug, good to see... Gerald Alves, I'm sorry. Glad to see you still live. I'm definitely going to get around to catching the rest. Thanks, Gerald. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a diehard. Awesome. MR says, sounds like they just moved the goalposts on us. That's good. That's so good. Flying Ryan said, and this is in relation to the picture, he says, don't tell me that's Adventureland. Haha, instant nostalgia seeing that teacup pattern. Yep, nailed it. Celebrate, celebrate. Today I will award 3,500 Dugroz points to Flying Ryan. Boom, you got it right. So Adventureland is a little amusement park right here in Des Moines, Iowa. Technically, it's in the suburb of Altoona. And they, pretty standard amusement park. You got teacups, you got a Ferris wheel, you got 3 or 4 roller coasters, you've got some uppy downy rides, you got some spinny rides, you got funnel cakes, you got hamburgers, you got Der Flinger, the balloon ride, a mixer, all the things that you normally have. So again, this was taken back in like 2018 or 19, so you can see my beard is very gray and I had those old glasses. So I'm getting older now. That was like 6 years ago. My kids would have been like 9 or 10, something like that. So yeah, that is Adventureland. There's a commercial that's used the exact same theme song for like 50 years that goes like this. Come on over to Adventureland. You're gonna have a fun-filled day. And then at the end they go, come on over to Adventureland. You're gonna love it at Adventureland. Da-da-da-da. And then in between there's this guy with the old style announcer voice that's like, Adventureland Park is open for 2024. Come try the new Snot Flinger. And somehow it's been the same announcer for like 50 years. I thought he'd be dead by now. I have a theory that they asked him to record every possible intro before he died. Okay, where were we? Nick1828 asked this question. When traveling internationally, what do you do with your phone plan? Do you just get the international plan your phone provider offers? I've seen people talk about options outside of their phone provider, but never looked into it. That's a good question, Nick. I only have one data point because I've traveled outside the United States in the cell phone era once ever. I went on eBay or Amazon or something like that and bought a prepaid phone plan. And I actually had one left over. So let me see if I can find it. This should only take 10 seconds. Don't go away. Please don't go away. It'll upset me so badly. Found it. So this is what I used. It is a Orange Holiday Europe prepaid SIM card. Like I said, I bought these on either Amazon or something or another. Bought 4 of them, had one left, and then waited until I got the country, turned them on. This gets you like 20 days with 20 gigabytes, unlimited calls, and SMS message, unlimited calls and SMS, and then 1,000 texts to the rest of the world. Okay. Unlimited texting within Europe, 1,000 text messages from Europe to the rest of the world. This was like $24 a person, something like that. Anybody else have any other suggestions? You can let me know what would be a good choice. I don't know what we're going to do this summer. I haven't looked into it yet. MR is on board and says eSIM from Aeroleo is a game changer. I'm going to screenshot that. Thank you very much, because I might use it. Now, I have an old enough phone that doesn't take an eSIM, but I'll need to be getting one in the near future here. Orange is a great option as well, and that's the one that I have, right? Orange Holiday. Yes. Okay. I don't buy anything extra. Google Fi. If you already have Google Fi, then superty duperty. They didn't work with iPhones for a while, but I know they do now because I'm 99% sure you're an iPhone guy. John, correct me if I'm wrong. It works with your iPhone just fine, no issues. How did it work in Iceland? Frequent Miler had a podcast yesterday about free eSIMs. Awesome. That's a good coincidence. Thank you, Ian. All right, let's see. What else? Catch 631 asked this question. Knowing what you know now, if I can put this silly picture away. Knowing what you know now, if you could restart your credit journey, what or who would be the first issuer you would get cards with? Which ones, if any, would you avoid? I don't know that I would avoid any altogether, but for the first part, which one would I start with? I know it's cliched, but I think it's cliched because it's true. I would start with Chase. Yeah, I would get all five. I not super hard and fast, but like for the first year and a half, it would just be 5 Chase cards. Yeah, I would just go straight for Chase. It's the best. It's the easiest for what I do. Now, for other people, maybe not. Uncle Luke, who's staying at super ritzy European properties all the time. For him, maybe it's not the best. But for me, Chase just works. So I would start with that, max out my Chase. I just about got my Chase set up the way I want now, everything except the Ritz-Carlton. So I'm okay now, but it took me a while to get there. I would go back in time and get the Redstone Federal Credit Union card before it was geofenced, so people outside of Alabama and Tennessee couldn't get it. Maybe I'll go back to Mobile, Alabama and be like, howdy, y'all. I'm here to get your credit card. Are you a resident of Alabama? Why, yes, sir. I live right up there in the holler. Why does your driver's license say Iowa? Well, that's where my dad is from. And then I can show them my belt buckle as a different form of ID or something like that. I apologize to the Alabamans. But I would like to get the Redstone Federal Credit Union card if I could go back in time. And then let's see. I would actually wait on Amex because they'll always be there waiting for you. I would have probably gotten the entire quadfecta from Citi next, that kind of stuff. So good questions. John's still talking about eSIMs and that kind of stuff. Ian says 1 or 5 gigabytes free eSIM if you have a Visa Infinity or Visa Signature card. I'll have to look into that also. How do you sign up for that? There's probably a way. I just don't know what it is. John says, I've only had an iPhone since September, only for the Apple Watch, but I'm going back to Android. No, say it isn't so. Google Fi worked flawless. No need to buy any add-ons or eSIMs. Awesome. I know when Google Fi first came out, a lot of people were skeptical because it mostly goes off like Wi-Fi, tries to avoid towers, but I know a lot of people go the eSIM route. I'll have to look into that. QC Man likes my plan to get the Redstone card. Gerald said, that accent might work. Be the data point you want to see. Ian doesn't remember how to get the free things. Heard on the FM pod. Is the Rewards Plus really being discontinued by Citi or just a rumor? Right now, it's just a rumor. We talked about that. I think it was the very first data point. Go back and listen. I don't mean that in a mean way. Obviously, I'm happy to have you hop on board at any point. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into more of the eSIM stuff. I just don't know. We have a question here from Flyin' Ryan. What is your plan for the Hilton quarterly credit? I'm thinking of taking my son to the local Hampton Inn and buying $50 of snacks at their hotel. Well, you know what, Ryan? I have the exact same plan. They just built a, not just, but there is now a home to suites, not too terribly far from me that I will probably go seek out and just say, I'm not staying here, but can I buy $50 worth of stuff at your pantry and get a bunch of caramel corn? And maybe if they have a t-shirt, I'll buy one of those. Actually, $100 worth of stuff because I've got it on my Surpass and my wife's business Platy. So if they don't have the gift cards working by the, I don't want to wait till the last day of the month, by like Wednesday, maybe, I'm just going to go do that. So yeah, I don't know of a better way to do it because I don't have any like resort stays coming up where I can prepay. Anybody have any ideas for how to use the Hilton credit when you're not a resort person, you don't have any Hilton stays coming up, etc.? John says Google Fi has changed a lot in the past couple of years, especially since switching to other carriers is not dead. Runs off of the T-Mo network. That's probably T-Mobile. What do you mean switching to other carriers is not dead? Maybe we can save that for another time. Did anybody else have a question that they typed that was kind of lengthy that I didn't get to? I think Mojo got his question in. Flying Ryan, Adventureland, he got 3,500 Dugroz points. Johnny Appleman got his question in. Catch 631, Nick 1228, Ron Byrne got his comment in. And as far as I know, that's it. All right. Yeah. Mint is dead. Mint. Okay. We can talk about that after. We can talk about that offline. All right. Thank you to everyone who joined in. Let's review who gave any sort of contribution today. Tom Graber, celebrate. $5. John R, $2, celebrate. TH, $2, celebrate. Vincent, $1.99, celebrate. Vincent, or already said Vincent. Ian, $4.99, celebrate. And QC Man has been a member for a solid year and likes me petting dogs. Hey, QC Man also dropped $1.99. Thank you, QC Man. Celebrate. Thank you so much for being a diehard. Last chance if you want to drop something or do a last second question because we are about to end. We are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark. This was a long one. I got to trim back here. Thank you so much for your patronage. I really appreciate it. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching. I got one more comment here. Ian Dang's only been a member for 5 months. And Tim says, Hilton credit date night. My local Hilton has pretty decent restaurant. There's only one Hilton restaurant in the entire Des Moines area. And it's downtown. It's kind of inconvenient to get to. I'll take my wife, drinks, dinner, but it'll probably be over $50. That's a good plan, Tim. And thanks for being here, Tim. All right. Spending frugal, points plenteous. Bye, everybody. Thanks.